knew that they were off celebrating this thing. Right? And I thought, you know what? Let me interject into the celebration what this actually means.
That's right.
Just so they could start thinking about it.
Right?
Because the further along you move into, it's a holiday, yay! Man, you don't even know what's going on there. And then it becomes more about the party than it does the truth. And it's not that the party is bad, it's that the party void of the truth is just another party. And void of the truth doesn't mean a historical recollection that there is a day, and we think it's today, where a guy was raised from the dead. It's what does it mean that a guy was raised from the dead? And not just any guy, but a human being was raised from the dead. And he wasn't just raised from the dead as a spirit. He was raised from the dead in a human body. Death was conquered in a human body. In a human being. That's trying to tell all human beings something. And it's actually like the antidote or the thing that destroys the effect that death in this earth has on our souls. And so if we don't understand that, what that's thinking, if we don't even know enough to see there's something there to ask God, man, woe is us. We're still living in bondage. Right? And that's one of the reasons why we started the church. It's like I had this thing in my heart, like Jesus felt, and he saw the people and saw they were without shepherds, and he grieved. Man, when I saw just, not just even unbelievers, man, I saw the people in the church, and they're without shepherds. And because they're without shepherds, they're just walking around in bondage still, all the time, hunched over like that woman that was hunched over, it said, for 18 years. You know? And we started the church because we wanted people to start thinking about the truth. Not as a work, but listen, if you're confronted with something, you ever notice how you immediately have to think about it? I mean, I tell people we don't have to go to church, and we don't have to go to church for God to be happy, or for God to love us, or for us to be blessed. But I tell you what, the end goal is for you to want to go, so you can hear the word of life and think about it, even if it's just for that day, right? Because we're confronted with so many things in our lives all week, and we're twisting on it. Next thing we know, everything we're twisting on is death. And lack. And what's wrong, and what's not right, and what can we do to get it right, and what... Listen, man, that's bondage. Right? And so it's like, of course we don't have to go to church, man. But listen, we want to have ourselves confronted with the word of life. And the word of life is not, you were created to worship God. That's not the word of life. The word of life isn't, you really need to get plugged into a program and serve. That's not the word of life. You really need to come and do praise and work. That's not the word of life. None of those things are the word of life. Those are all things that have their place and can be good if they are born from the word of life, but void of the word of life, putting those things into the place where only the word of life can be, they're empty. And they're laborious. And they're dead. And they leave people empty and void and laboring and toiling and dead. Right?
Oh, yes.
And walking in darkness. Walking in darkness is to have your thoughts corrupted by the death in the earth. That's what it means to walk in darkness. Okay? So if you think not going to church means you're walking in darkness, you don't understand. If you think not giving means you're walking in darkness, you don't understand. If you think because you haven't done this or that, you're walking in darkness, you don't understand. Walking in darkness means for you to make conclusions about your life and about your relationship with God from the foundation of death and the fruit of death. That's what it means to walk in darkness. Right? So you're now going to judge yourself by the death you see in your life. And that's why sin subverted our souls so much. That's why the works of the flesh subverted our souls so much. Because it's the fruit of death. And it was constantly telling us, you must be separated from life. And if you're separated from life, the next conclusion is, you must be separated from God then. He must be upset with you. He must have abhorred you in your affliction. Then out of your heart comes, oh, wretched person that I am. Who shall save me? Do you see where it leads? That's how you felt like a wretch, if you ever felt like a wretch. That's how it happened to you. You first started twisting or making conclusions, or the place you reasoned from was the death you saw around you or in your life, or the fruit of death. Everybody understands when I say death, I'm talking about anything that isn't the fruit of life. Right? I'm not just talking about a guy's in the grave.
Yeah.
No.
Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
That's how you end up in the place where you feel like a loser. It means you're reasoning from death.
Yes.
That's how you feel like God's forsaken you. You're reasoning about God and His thoughts and intentions from your death. You're not reasoning about it from life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why Jesus talks about walking in the light of life. And I'm going to preach about this on Sunday. But the way you have a sound mind is to be persuaded that you've been braided together and joined as one to that eternal life. That gives you a sound mind. It straightens out your thoughts.
Yes.
It straightens out your feelings. It acts as discernment in you. It causes you to not see what is wise, but it causes wisdom to be your sight.
Yeah.
You discern things correctly. It's a sound mind, man.
And the world